NHS bosses say that our great national flag is creating no-go zones for their staff. One NHS Trust leader compared walking into the home of someone with a St George's cross outside to the threat that staff face from going into the properties of convicted sex offenders. Here's the quote. I've been into homes with people who have been convicted of sex offences, and we go in and we provide care to them. It can be a really precarious situation, and they handle that absolutely brilliantly. The autonomy and the clinical decisions that they make within that, I think, is fantastic. We saw during the time when the St George's flags went up, our staff, who are a large minority of black and Asian staff, feeling deliberately intimidated. It felt like the flags were up creating no-go zones. That's what it felt like to them. It's ridiculous. The NHS doesn't have a problem with some flags, do they? They painted the entire side of one hospital with the pride flag. They've even got big LGBT ambulances. NHS staff are currently suing the NHS over their right to wear a Palestine flag at work. And here is what Matt Goodwin had to say. He said, "We have become so dependent on immigration in the NHS, we are apparently no longer allowed to fly our national flag." Well, I think that's spot on. There appears to be a coordinated attempt to talk about racism in the NHS at the moment. Wes Streeting claiming that we're returning to the, quote, ugly days of the 1970s and 1980s. And today, Sir Keir Starmer, who has the lowest approval ratings of any Prime Minister in recorded history, was interviewed by a doctor called Amir Khan. So, just so we're clear on the context, Dr. Khan there has a watermelon in his social media bio, which is one of the symbols used to show that you are very pro-Palestine. Now, that doctor said this.
As a brown person, I've never felt more unsafe in the country I was born in. What are you doing to politically, culturally and emotionally bring the country together?
This is so important because I think the political divide now is between what I call patriotic national renewal, which is what this Labour government is doing, bringing people together, whether it's partnership working here or across the country, finding those points of connection, or, and this is what I fear, the toxic division of Reform and others on the right in politics, where they're tearing our country apart.
Well, Dr. Khan and Sir Keir Starmer, as a white person, I have never felt more unsafe in the country that I was born in. Do you care about that? Are you going to do anything to deal with my concerns? I mean, they say that the St George's flags create a no-go zone. What about this?
Why do you think I'm a dog?
Officer, can you take this dog away?
You think I'm a dog?
Take this dog away.
I haven't done anything.
Go away.
I'm a citizen of this country and I'm free to do what I want.
Are we going to have an adult conversation? Or are we going to move on?
No, don't. Is that my choice?
Don't entertain him. I'm asking you a question.
Don't entertain him.
I was trying to have an adult conversation. They started calling me a dog and swearing at me. I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything wrong.
I think it's best that we leave it.
Today, there was news that the illegal migrant hotspot of the Bell Hotel in Epping is going to be allowed to stay open. That is, of course, where the Ethiopian sex offender abused a schoolgirl, then went on the run. People there don't feel safe. I mean, the other day, a woman died after allegedly being stabbed in the neck in a random attack. Random attacks seem to be happening rather a lot at the moment, don't they? Also, today, this news broke.
New data my department published today shows that from April to the end of October this year, there were 91 releases in error from prison.
Yeah, 91 of Lammy's lags are out. He's not even sure if one bloke has been released or, if he has, whether or not he's still at large.
I have been informed, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon that HMPPS are investigating a further case of a potential release in error on the 3rd of November who may still be at large.
He says today a prisoner may have been accidentally released last Monday. Well, has he looked? He's either in his cell or he's not.
It's not just ethnic minorities who don't feel safe in this country. And if our national flag offends you or makes you feel unsafe, then perhaps you are in the wrong country. And just before anyone starts calling me a racist for saying that, here is our Chief Medical Officer, Chris Whitty. He also thinks that we should be hiring more British doctors over foreigners, who might not, of course, be offended by our national flag. Is he a racist too?
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We have got GB News contributor Will Kingston, we've got Tory MP Esther McVeigh and journalist Jonathan Liss. Will, I'll start with you on this. So, no-go zones for NHS staff because there's St George's crosses outside people's homes.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it, Patrick? Look, it's a poignant day to speak about this because so many people have died fighting for that flag, and we must not forget them, lest we forget. If some trans ideologue picks up a pride flag and advocates for the chemical castration of children, I don't feel intimidated. A, because I'm a normal human being, but B, because facts don't care about my feelings. In some instances, people use that flag for what I think is a very, very harmful purpose, and some people feel pride in their sexuality. That's fine. In this case, this flag is a flag that should unite the country. Every country has a flag, and just because some people may use it for purposes which other people may think are harmful, bad luck.
So as an Australian, you're not intimidated by seeing St George's crosses everywhere?
Well, let's not forget the Union Jack is on the top left corner of the Australian flag, and we share the same king. So I feel relatively comfortable with it.
At home,
yeah.
Good, long way that last.
Wait until the Ashes starts, at least, in which case it may be a very different story.
Exactly. Esther, what do you make of what some of those NHS bosses have said there? Essentially saying that going into the homes of convicted sex offenders was almost as precarious for some of their staff as going into the homes of people who've got a St George's cross outside?
I'd say they've lost the marbles. I mean, this is like trying to make up a story. I mean, how were you threatened? Who is threatened? And there's so many questions this story raises. Well, what do they now want? Do they not want anybody to go into a house because they feel threatened by it?
They want us to take the flags down.
No, yes, but if they don't, does that mean you don't get any health treatment? Do you now say we're going to pay people more money to go into houses if they feel threatened? It just raises so many questions. I think it's a nonsense. You're living in Great Britain, you're living in England, these are our flags, and I think people should just realise it is the flag of the country. But I'd like to know how exactly are they threatened? Who? What's happened? Because we've not got any of that. It just seems to be a suggestion that people are. We've got no examples at all from these NHS chiefs.
Well, yeah, Jonathan, what do you think of the NHS bosses who say that their staff are having to go down no-go zones when they go to places like Essex where there's flags?
I think there is a little bit of disingenuousness happening in this particular debate, Patrick. I am not offended by the flag of my own country, England, clearly. It's a flag, and when we have football tournaments, for example, people across the country of England fly that flag proudly, and there is a degree of reclamation of that flag. And I say reclamation, reclaimed, because for many, many years, that flag was not a symbol of unity. It was a symbol that had been essentially co-opted by elements of the far right, and I think that's a terrible, terrible shame. But that is what happened. In the same way that a lot of people didn't feel comfortable flying the Union flag, because that also was seized upon by the National Front, the BNP, etc. Now, I'm not saying that this is a good thing. I'm not saying that it's a welcome thing, but I am saying that it happened. And a lot of people
just get on with it.
But I'm saying that
suck it up. You're in Britain.
So the point is that a lot of people fly the flag entirely innocently and proudly, and that's brilliant. A lot of people, some people, a minority, are flying those flags in order to intimidate people, and that is the problem.
Jonathan, if neo-Nazis sit on couches, we don't suddenly go couches are evil. It's just you can't.
So that's JD Vance.
You can't just say just because some people choose to use something for their own purpose, it is therefore ipso facto bad.
Well, I think that we can have a good faith discussion about this.
We've struggled in the past.
Couches are clearly not the same thing as flags. You know full well, and I'm not saying that you support this or subscribe to it in any way, but you know that the flag has been used by racist people in order to intimidate people of minorities.
Was the Labour logo then? Well, when obviously under the days of Jeremy Corbyn, when the party was accused of rampant anti-Semitism, was the Labour logo co-opted by anti-Semites? You know, were people ashamed to have used the Labour logo? Do you think? Would that have intimidated people seeing the...
Well, I think, look, a lot of Jewish people actually were intimidated by Labour people in those... I wasn't one of them. I wrote an article saying that I was a Jewish person, I supported Labour, but a lot of people were.
Sorry, can I bring you on, do you mind if I ask you specifically about the comments that Dr Amir Khan made there, which he said to Sir Keir Starmer, as a brown person living in England, I've never felt more unsafe than I do in the country I was born in. I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of white people that feel like that as well.
I think under Keir Starmer, I think he has stoked division by when people have come out, whether it's the Pink Ladies in Essex, complaining about what they've got concerns about who's living in their area, and Keir Starmer did nothing about it, and he just wanted to sideline them, and he insulted them, and it was, you are far right. And I think he's stoked that division in this country, and it's about time that we come around the flag. It's something actually that you can get around and say, no, we're all proud to be British, but whatever the problems are, let's tackle them and not try and brush them under a carpet. And anybody who complains about a problem, say you must be far right or you're some kind of extremist. No, you're not. So I think he's the one who stoked division.
Well, Patrick, as you know, I've said on this show, when they say division, they mean things that we disagree with. But I'll come back to that argument, Jonathan. I think you're right. I think there is a difference between a couch and a flag. I think that's fair enough. The better analogy would be the Palestine flag, which is flown every weekend at the moment. Some people do use that as a good faith way of saying we are not happy with the war in Gaza, and some people are Hamas apologists, and yet we don't have that same level of frustration or sadness about that particular flag. And I wonder why people on the left side don't see that particular contradiction.
Well, there's a difference between wearing a pin on your lapel and sort of having a house festooned with flags and asking public sector workers to come into that house.
But there are a lot of flats. This is the thing. So there are a huge number of houses and flats that are emblazoned with the Palestine flag. There's loads around here. You don't see articles...
Hundreds of flags across the streets of London.
From the NHS saying that their staff, their nurses and doctors feel afraid to walk into those houses.
I have a look. Look, it's a legitimate question. I would answer it like this. I think that for the vast majority of people who fly the Palestinian flag, it is as a symbol of solidarity with the people who have, according to the UN, that face a genocide, which is not the same thing as a
I genuinely don't think it's about the flag. I kind of think it's about completely different things, whether it's extra money, not having to do any home visits, nothing to do with that, because they've given no examples whatsoever, and it's coincidentally at the same time that they're all planning to go on strike on Friday.
If they are that bothered about, let's be honest with you, I would imagine 99% of the time it's English people flying the English flag outside their own property, then they won't mind if those English people stop paying their tax for the NHS and stop paying all their wages, will they? But
and the house you're going into, the person's vulnerable, they're ill, they're needing your help. They're not going to be any threat whatsoever.
Exactly. Well, a Department of Health and Social Care spokesperson, there's no place for intimidation, racism or abuse in our country or our NHS. We value the diversity of our NHS, which relies on the skill and dedication of hard-working staff from all backgrounds. They must be treated with dignity and respect. Our flags represent our history, our heritage and our values. They are a symbol of our nation and belong to all of us, not just some of us. All right, whatever that means.